Hello, I'm just at work at the moment. I am kind of struggling mentally to kind of keep everything together. So what I'm doing is today I am going to write a list of things that I have changed that I am in my eating habits. I was gonna use a word. Oh, I can't remember what the word was gonna be. Basically, things that I've changed in my eating habits that that have made a difference for the good. So the reason why I thought about it the other day was the fact that I had I struggled on one of the days, and I ate some peanut butter and bread, and Jane Day said that it represented the changes that I'd made, that because I didn't have the stuff in my house, that I didn't eat like I used to, sort of thing. So I thought I'll have a little think about kind of my Slimming World successes, because all too often I can think in my head the things I haven't achieved. Because I want to be better, I want to achieve more, I think sometimes I can forget how far I have come, and sometimes thinking back on how far I've come can help me to put everything in perspective a little bit better. So I'm going to say first of all that one of my Slimming Well successes is to have taken out trigger foods in my household, and that's a success because I've had to speak to my partner about the foods that I do not want in the house. I've had to speak to my children about it, so I've had to voice my struggles, which has been very hard, because it's hard to voice them, firstly because you feel stupid that you even firstly because I feel stupid that I even got myself into that situation, but also I don't want to admit it, because then it will mean that I will change it and then I won't be able to do it anymore. So but excuse me, I'm very grateful that I have done that. So I for example, don't have the best of both bread in the house anymore. I don't have crisps in the house anymore. And the other thing that I'm proud of myself for is the fact that when my mum and dad come over, sometimes they bring things for the children, and previous to this point I might have bought a bag of crisps or like different things, cakes and biscuits and things, and I've been able to say to my mum now, please will you take them away, so the kids can have some while they're there. Kids can have some while my mum and dad are there, and they can have whatever the part offers, and as soon as they go, they take everything else away with them, because that allows me, there's a bit of my head that says as soon as my mum and dad are gone, then I can eat all of the feed that they've left behind. I suppose it must be a bit of kind of eating through nostalgia or like familiar stuff, mustn't it? Because if it's my mum and dad's left the feed, then maybe it's a way of me connecting with them. Maybe that's probably why I do it. But I've been able to say to them that I don't want to leave things, and it's been odd things as well. But I'm better at now understanding foods that, like, I can look at a food immediately and know that that would cause a problem for me. Obviously over time things, you know, you can kind of it becomes easier to be around them. And I'm sure over the next 10 or 20 years, all of the feeds that I find tricky won't be as tricky in the future. But right now they are still tricky foods to be around. Another Slimming World success feel I have is my ability to sort of brush to one side the thought processes of others when they say, well, you should just have more willpower then. You should, you know, you're better than that. You can do it. Why do you, you know, why you it's just a simple thing. You just don't eat it. And I think and my Slimming World success is to understand that some people might be able to do that. That's completely valid. But I am not able to do that. So my Slimming World success is that I keep myself out of those situations as best I can. Obviously there will be situations I find myself in which case I can use occasional different techniques like distraction or kind of making sure I've eaten something before I put myself in those situations. For example, we go into a shop, for example, and there's chocolate there, and I think I might be able to buy something. If I simply distract myself, think of something else, get out of the shop, then I've not bought it and that's completed. I can do that, and in small doses. If, for example, I've got it in the house all the time, I'm having to do that continually, and that's very exhausting and mentally exhausting, and you just can't do that. Well, I cannot do that continually. I can't do that. So I don't put myself in a situation. So I've count that as a success, that I can understand myself well enough to think, you know, this is not something that is relevant to me. Not at this point. It might be later. Again, it might be later. But right now, that's not something I can achieve. I feel another success is my ability nowadays to eat food that I would have previously not seen as quite as exciting as the other types of food I was eating. So, for example, I've always liked nectarine. But it's not been that big a deal for me in the past because, of course, it wasn't really like my main food source in terms of, you know, I wasn't eating a lot of fruit and veg. I was eating it, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like my main kind of consumption. I would obviously, you know, there would, I'll have a think about what I used to eat for my, you know, but it's basically now the thing now that I now class nectarine as a very high part of my diet. I eat that quite regularly, and I put it as a priority to eat it, and I see the value of it far higher. So I feel like one of the Slimming World successes is that I see the value of the free and the speed foods a lot higher than I ever used to. Things I used to eat were, I'm trying to think, I definitely had toast, definitely had jam, peanut butter and toast. I definitely had, and I would have regular amounts of chocolate. I would have, so that's another thing that a Slimming World success is that I very, very, very rarely eat chocolate now. It's not part of my daily diet. I do not eat it every day. And I do not eat crisps every day. I used to have sandwich-wise, like lunch-wise, we used to have sandwiches. And we used to have sandwiches and crisps and a drink. And sometimes then some chocolate as well. And then we'd also have chips. There was a chip shop just down the road from us, but we used to have chip butties, and we would have pineapple fritter in the chip butty like a burger. And we used to have that quite regularly when we first took over the shop, because it was quite cheap food. It was only £5 or something for the two, you know, chip butties and pineapple fritter. So it was pretty cheap food for us to have. The other thing Slimming World success leading on from that is that I now batch cook. And something I'd never ever did before, and it took me such a long time to pluck up the courage to batch cook. I just wouldn't ever do it, and I slowly eased myself into it by kind of making an evening meal that was able to be kept for the next day, just like a leftovers thing. So all I would do is just make twice as much and that, leave it at that, and then eat it the next day. And then I slowly figured out the foods that were able to be frozen, and then I would batch cook like that, so then we'd freeze the food for later. And then I slowly figured out a routine where I didn't have to freeze anything, it would just all be leftovers, but it would be food that could be easily microwaved the next day into containers. So that's where I am at the moment. I don't freeze any foods, I just balance it where we have evening meal that makes the lunches and then evening meal that makes the lunches. But I make sure in that way I'm only cooking on a Sunday. Then on the Monday I put together the lasagna. So the Sunday I do the chili and the lasagna sauce and the Sunday evening meal, which nicely the kids now help me with, which is very nice. And the Monday is just slam the lasagna together. So all I have to do is literally put the soft cheese on the sheets and put it in the oven, so it's not very complicated. Then on the Tuesday I'll just do some rice for the chili, and on the rice is also there for I do enough rice for the chili and the curry later on in the week. Then I do freeze the rice. Then I have the Wednesday, which is the pasta, which is quite a simple cook, but it's a bit more complicated, and I also make the curry at that point. So the Wednesday is a pasta and veg and a curry. Then the Thursday I don't literally I don't have to cook anything because the curry's done and the rice done, everything done. And on the Friday we play around with foods, and we ended up having the pizza a lot the last week before. So I'm going to try and make sure I can have my pizza this time and try and limit down the sins earlier in the day to balance that out. So yeah, that's the type of thing that I do now. So that's a good Slimming World success for the batch cooking. The other Slimming World success I would say is the routine that because I was ultra scared of routines for a very long time. I have no idea why. But now I'm in them, I appreciate them. I try and use a routine as a way of functioning when I'm not functioning. So I literally just follow my lists and follow the path of habits, so that then my brain, when I'm not right in my head, I can still do everything I need to do at a base level, so that when I kind of come back out of it, I've not got an almighty mess of a life to deal with. Excuse me. The things we changed. Slimming World successes, I would say again, we used to have cakes and sausage rolls and chocolates and such often in the morning at work, and that's been a good thing as the Slimming World change has stopped that now. The other Slimming World success I would say I have is the ability to know how to feed myself. So when I'm hungry, I can have a good idea of the types of food that I need to put in my body so that I am satisfied. So I understand the combinations of the foods, and I can look at something and I can say, that's going to make me feel groggy, or that's going to make me feel bloated, or that's going to make me feel like depleted afterwards. I can tell types of foods. I'm thinking in my head, like for example, you know, if you go to Sainsbury's and go and get like some you know, their sandwich section, and there's a bit of my brain that go, if you're sort of stuck for food, I can look at it all and I can think, not only do I know that it's high in sins, but I can also have a gauge of what's going to fill me up properly. So like the other day I had the boiled egg and spinach, and there's no way I would have chosen that before. There was a cheese ploughman's baguette I used to have, and I would have chosen that, and the Max Paprika crisps, and now I look at that all, and I not only I know it would be delicious, but it would make me feel so heavy, so groggy, and so raw. It would take me ages to digest it, and then I wouldn't be able to function in the rest of my day. I'd feel a little bit like a food hangover. You know, when you, like, if you drink lots and you maybe regret it, and then you're like, oh, and you're stuck in this kind of regret bubble. Let's quickly check the time because it's 1:15. Yeah, I got 4 minutes. Okay, then I'll wrap this up with the last thing that I Slimming World success is my children, and the fact that they do not eat crisps and chocolate every single day, which I'm very, very grateful for. They love eating fruit and vegetables, and not quite so many vegetables, but they love eating their fruit, and they're very excited. Benjamin's very excited that when there's blueberries in the house, and Guy's very excited when there's watermelon in the house, which was very excited about the watermelon arrival. So I'm very grateful. One of the Slimming World successes is the fact that my children have been exposed now to lots of different things, and my children know what foods have got sins in and what foods are free in speed, and so that they offer things to me accordingly, and they understand now that certain foods need to be moderated more than others, and other foods are what you base your diet around. So that's good Slimming World success. I would love to hear what you feel like your Slimming World successes are. That would make my day, and it put a good bit of positivity into the into this time of year when all of it's getting a little bit darker. Okay, lots of love to you all, and speak to you all soon. Bye.